Well, we're here in Milton at the Heritage Country Park. It is Friday afternoon, a few minutes before we're going to go on for our Eco Summit and our town hall meeting with Stephane Dion. The room upstairs is getting very full at the moment. We anticipate a sellout crowd. Lots of people want to be here and talk to this guy, meet him, hear what he has to say. Now, Mr. Dion this morning, as you know, introduced the new climate change strategy. Many people are calling it a carbon budget, but let's see what he calls it. I'm here in the holding room right now with Mr. Dion before we go on. And let me just ask you a little bit about the plan this morning. What is the philosophy behind the announcement this morning?
Thank you, Garth. Indeed, the title is Balancing Our Carbon Budget. So we Liberals have been good to balance the budget of the nation. Now it's time to balance our carbon budget, and it's not the case at all. We are one of the worst in the world per capita for greenhouse gas emissions. And climate change is the worst ecological threat that humanity is facing. Canada must be a good citizen of the world. We need to do our share. We need to learn to live within our carbon budget. And what is our carbon budget? It's the emissions that we are allowed to send in the atmosphere according to the Kyoto Protocol that we signed. That means we need to go back to our level of emissions that were the case in 1990, below minus 6%. And we are far over that. What I have announced today is the carbon budget for the industry. All of us, we need to decrease our emissions, and there is the industry. 700 facilities in Canada, in the oil and gas sector, electricity sector, energy intensity sector, they are sending half of our emissions in the atmosphere. I'm asking them to live within their carbon budget. So since today they are sending much more emissions than that, what will we do? We say to them, for all the emissions you send over the budget, we'll ask you to pay something that will not be a tax. It will be an account. This account will be for you. It will be back for you if you come with projects to decrease your emissions to the point that you will have zero emissions over your budget. So what will be the price they will have to pay per ton of greenhouse gas emissions? They will have to pay $20 in 2008, going up to $30 in 2012. It's affordable and demanding at the same time. If they don't want to pay, they just have to decrease their emissions. If they are unable to decrease their emissions enough, they just have to come with projects to decrease their emissions over time, and we will give them money back when these tons will have been eliminated. The beauty of this system is that it's good for the environment. We will decrease our emissions. It's good for the economy because these companies, instead to take their profits in their pocket, and for many of them not being Canadians to leave in the United States right away, the money will stay longer in Canada to do the right thing, to invest in the rich jobs that we have in the environmental sector, to invest in our universities, to find the solutions and to implement them. Will become a superpower of green energy and a good citizen of the world in decreasing our emissions. This is possible. This is doable. The last thing that is missing is a government willing to implement it. And we want.
All right. Now, I know that the opposition is going to ask the question, how much is it going to cost? Is this going to end up costing jobs? And is this affordable for our large industries?
It's affordable. It will cost almost nothing for the taxpayers, only to create an agency, nothing. But for the industry, it may mean every year billions of dollars, maybe $1 or $2 billion in their account, but it's still there. And if they don't use it, if they choose to pay without doing nothing and to keep their emissions up, the agency that we will create, where you will have representative of the federal, provincial governments, the environmental sector and the private sector all together, will use these amount of money to decrease emissions elsewhere for transportation, housing, municipalities, and so on. So it will stay in Canada, it will be used, and it will help us to have more energy efficiency and resource productivity, better industrial processes, to modernize our economy. And in 2012, we will be more competitive because of that, and will be a good citizen of the world, doing our share to save the planet. Because if we continue this way, sorry, but our children and grandchildren will have a awful time. The planet will be very difficult for them. You will have a million and million of human beings without any land, without any water, disturbation everywhere, and we will pay a huge price for our inaction.
Some people in Alberta particularly worry that we are taking money out of energy sectors like the oil sands, distributing it across Canada. Is this another national energy program? How do you counter that question?
We are the best allies for Alberta. Alberta has no sustainable future from now. It's a raw material that get out of the sand with a lot of pollution, not only greenhouse gas, as you know, acid rain and so on, and leaving the province after a royalty paid to the province. If we want Alberta to have a strong future, and it is my case, we need to find a way to be sure that the money will stay in Alberta longer, to do the right things, to invest in the transformation. And the best way to do it is through this plan, because the oil and gas industry, especially the oil sands, will have to invest part of their profit. In fact, it's about $1 a barrel, when they are making $30 a barrel as a profit. So it's affordable for them. But this $1 a barrel, instead to leave right away, will stay in Alberta, will be invested in the transformative activity to decrease the emissions and the pollution through the know-how of Albertans and other Canadians. So by no way it will be a way to take the money and to send it in Ottawa. The money will stay in Alberta to do the right thing.
Last question. Some of the opposition people, conservatives in general, have talked about a carbon trading system, and they get people afraid that it's just money flowing out of Canada. How does your plan differ from that?
We'll have a domestic carbon market. To explain to the people, is when a company, a facility, is below its target, they may sell this extra cuts of tons they have to the market, to the companies that are unable to reach their target. They will make money. It's giving an incentive to you not only to reach your target, but to continue to work hard to go below. It's the beauty of the thing. And this will be a domestic carbon market. Will be open to an international carbon market to trade with other countries, but only for 25% of their extra emissions, to be sure that most of the activity will stay in Canada. For the activity that will go outside Canada, it must be actual reductions of greenhouse gas emissions. It cannot be the so-called hot air. It must be for real reductions done in other countries through a showcase of the Canadian technology. So it will help us to gain new markets. It will help us to be champions in this global carbon market that will exist. It will exist. It will be as big as the grain and the coffee markets together for 2012. I want Canada to be a winner in this market. We need to learn how to win in it. So 25% may go for this international market. 75% will stay here in Canada.
So this is a way that Kyoto can actually work. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, Kyoto is the incentive to do the right thing right now. We know that in our private life, if we don't have a target, we don't act very well. When we have a target, a deadline, something to do, then it's doable, then you do it. You don't say mañana, you do it right away.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Stephane Dion, Leader of the Opposition. It's just a few minutes now before our event, so hang in there. We're going to bring you full coverage of our town hall meeting here in Halton.